Welcome to HDTV. You now rocking with your boy. The census is whiplashed by changing and has accuracy concerns. Shortly after the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump administration can end the 2020 census, a text message went out to field supervisors in Northern California telling them to start collecting the iPhones their census takers use for gathering household information during their door knocking. It was the fifth time in 2 months that they were given a new end date, this one Thursday, for the head count of everyone living in the U.S. The Supreme Court decision Tuesday was just the latest case of whiplash for the census, which has faced starts and stops from the pandemic, natural disasters, and court rulings, as well as confusion over when it was going to end and questions over whether minorities, immigrants, poor people, and others would be counted accurately. Minority groups have historically been undercounted in the once-a-decade census that determines how many congressional seats each state gets, as well as how $1.5 trillion in federal spending is distributed each year. And advocates said the 2-week shorter schedule will make that even worse. The Trump administration is acting out of fear. They fear future America where we are majority minority. They don't want to see the power shift. Mita Anand, a fellow at the New York Immigration Coalition, said Wednesday, they will ignore the rules. They will do everything they can to make sure the true nature of our society is not reflected. The Trump administration has argued that the head count needed to end immediately to give the Census Bureau time to meet a congressionally mandated December 31st deadline for completing the figures that will be used to apportion House seats. A coalition of local governments and advocacy groups had sued to keep the census going through October, saying that minorities and others would be missed if the census ended early. By sticking to the December 31st deadline, the Trump administration will end up controlling the numbers used for the apportionment, no matter who wins next month's presidential election. Opponents fear the administration will depart from past practice and leave out to count people who are in the U.S. illegally. The nation's highest court didn't offer a reason for ending the census, though Justice Sonia Sotomayor said in a dissent that minorities and others will disproportionately bear the burden of any inaccuracies. The end date for 2020 census has been a moving target since the pandemic temporarily halted field operations last spring. The Census Bureau pushed the end of July deadline for concluding the count to the end of October because of the virus. But the Commerce Department, which oversees the agency, decided to move up the deadline to late September, then early October, and was thwarted both times by a federal judge in California. The constantly fluctuating deadline probably affected the quality of the data gathered, since census takers were more likely to rely on administrative records or neighbors instead of making an extra visit to a household if they were under the gun to end the count. Minnesota State demographer Susan Brower said, many census takers have said they hadn't been given work since the beginning of the month with little explanation, even though they had been planning to work through the end of October. In recent weeks, the census operations has been in a holding pattern, Brower said. They didn't say, great, more time, let's go back and revisit some of those things we've already done. The attitude was more what's done is done, and we will put our energy toward closing cases. Brower says she is more concerned about whether Census Bureau statisticians can process the data accurately by December 31st in less than 3 months when they originally had 5 months to do it. My interpretation is it cannot be done in that amount of time. She said whether that December 31st deadline hold is still being decided in the courts. The data processing phase takes time since the statisticians must remove duplicate answers, fill in information gaps by using records, and check for quality, said Thomas Saines, president and general counsel for the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Losing 2 weeks of the count is going to be felt in New York City, where activists since the start of the month had held 100 events to get people to fill out the census form. And every single day we were moving the numbers upward, said Julie Menon, director of NYC Census 2020. We could have done so much more, paid canvassing, advertising, phone banking, texting. Menon said to lose those 2 weeks is unconscionable. So, what do you think? Do you think that by
on quality hair color,
by them basically shutting everything down by December 31st, you think they'll have enough time to put out the accurate numbers for the housing and people in the housing? I feel like it's going to hurt not only the minorities, it's gonna hurt us because the thing is, do we really like any of these candidates? Like seriously, like either way we go, we're screwed. To me, I feel like it doesn't matter. Biden's senile, and I don't trust that bitch he with Kamala. I don't trust her. She locked brothers up for a living. Trump, we all know what Trump is. A divisive person who continues to divide the country. But what the census does, like I was saying earlier, I think last month or 2 months ago, I made a video to this as well, is that the U.S. Census and everything basically keeps track of who's in your house, who stays there legally or illegally, because that affects a lot of things. Because if you have a household full of illegal immigrants in there, they could sway the votes, because they could vote and go. They can not only vote, but they could put down, okay, they're looking at this party, they're looking to go here, because they can register to vote and get all their stuff together. And then if they get all their stuff together and they make it in time to vote, that could affect who gets those votes and who can win in the presidential election. So to me, I always looked at the census. I used to do the census before, and sometimes you don't get the names. You would just put down how many people are in the house. Like, let's say you got 2 adults and like 3 kids. Like, you would put male, female, then boy or girl, and then sometimes they can say they don't want to give their information out. So you lose one there, because the people who don't do it, that affects you, because you don't know who is going to vote for the right wing or the left wing. And that's why they want to try to close this down quick, so then they can snag some of those votes. So but let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think they'll have enough done by December? Like they'll have all the totals and all the people down who's basically in the household and the numbers? Do you think they'll get the numbers right? Or do you think basically everything's not going to get done on time because of the short deadline? Or how many of you really don't care? Well, thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share this, hit the notification bell, select all so you can receive upcoming content. If you want to donate to the page, you can cash at me at welcome to HDTV. That's the word welcome, number 2, HDIITV. And thank you for listening. We're out. Live boy.